So in our introductory class, we were discussing that liver disorders, it can be classified in two categories. One was the diffuse one, and the second one was the localized. So in diffuse category, again, there were two subparts, and one was hepatitis, which was inflammatory in nature, and other was hepatosis, that was metabolic disorder of the liver cells. So hepatitis, the name itself, it indicates it is inflammation of the liver or liver parenchyma, you can say. So, and we have already discussed that it is diffuse type, means the whole liver will be involved in this case. Only focal lesions will not be there. So throughout the parenchyma, there will be some changes. And basically those changes are the liver, this inflammatory in nature. So inflammation, you know, and so hepatitis itself, it indicates the inflammation of liver. So if we see the definition, so definition is hepatitis refers to the degenerative and inflammatory process of liver characterized by jaundice, abdominal pain, and nervous signs. So hepatitis itself, it reveals that it is inflammatory change or inflammation. And since it is a hepatic system or hepatic cells, so liver is involved there. So inflammation of liver, and anytime if inflammation is not a normal phenomena, whenever there is some degenerative changes occurs or some damage occurs, just to cope up with that degenerative changes, or you can say the damage, the inflammation occurs in the body to fill up to heal that degeneration, you can say. But when these inflammatory changes remain for longer time, it causes damage. No, it indicates a disease process, you can say. But normally, inflammation is a healing phenomena, you can say. The preventing, it's a protective mechanism of the body. But when it persists for a longer time, it causes a damage to the body also. So when there will be inflammatory changes in the liver because of some degenerative changes or some damage in the liver, definitely the capacity of that liver will be reduced. Whatever the functions of livers are there, that will be hampered, and it will lead to jaundice, because jaundice is the most important sign of the liver disorder. So jaundice will be there since it is hepatitis. Inflammation of liver is there. So you might be knowing or remembering the cardinal sign of inflammation is pain also. So because inflammation is there, there will be abdominal pain, because liver is present in the abdominal cavity. So animal will reveal pain in the abdomen. And nervous signs are also present in hepatic disorders. So we will be discussing later on how nervous signs appears. So these are the basic signs, clinical signs, which are present in hepatitis. So definition wise, it is clear, I think, that hepatitis, it is a degenerative and inflammatory change of the liver, and it is characterized by jaundice, abdominal pain, and nervous signs. So if we see the etiology of this hepatitis, there is a vast list of the etiology. So on the basis of etiologies, it has been categorized again. And on the basis of etiologies, there are several types of hepatitis. So the list has been given here, that is infectious hepatitis. The name itself reveals that it is caused by some infectious cause. An infectious cause means it may be a bacteria, a virus, a fungus. So infectious causes, if they are the etiology for the hepatitis, then that type of etiology, hepatitis will be called as infectious hepatitis. The second one is parasitic hepatitis. You might be remembering that there are various parasites which cause the liver damage. And one of the most important is the fasciola. Some nematodes are also there, which can cause their larval form. They migrate towards the liver, and in the liver parenchyma, when they migrate, they causes damage to the liver parenchymal cell, and because of that, that inflammation takes place and hepatitis established. So that type of, if it is caused by the parasites, that is called parasitic hepatitis. Again, another category is there, that is toxic hepatitis. So there are various organic, inorganic molecules or compounds which are toxic to the liver. They can damage the liver cells. And because of that, hepatitis occurs. So that is called toxic hepatitis. So various organic compounds you might be knowing that carbon tetrachloride, it used to be the drug of choice for fasciolosis in earlier time. If you read old books, it is mentioned there that the drug of choice for fasciolosis is carbon tetrachloride. But at the same time, it is toxic to the liver. It causes hepatitis. Now it is banned and we don't use it nowadays. So carbon tetrachloride is one example of the etiology in toxic hepatitis. If we talk about the inorganic substances, various substances are there like arsenic, cobalt, sometimes selenium has also been reported. So their excessive amount can lead to damage to the hepatic cells and thereby the hepatitis takes place. Some nutritional causes are also there. They cause the nutritional hepatitis, some deficiencies of amino acids. So they are categorized in nutritional hepatitis, especially the mentioned one is cysteine and methionine. If there is deficiency of this, the animal may show the symptom of hepatitis. Another category is there, that is congestive hepatitis. And this congestive hepatitis, it is caused by congestive heart failure. If heart is damaged, and I think cardiac diseases are going on, you might be studying there. So when there is congestive heart failure, it will lead to the hepatitis. And how it will lead to that, we will come to that. So congestive heart failure is also a cause of hepatitis, and that type of hepatitis is called as congestive hepatitis. So the various names of this hepatitis has been given just to recognize the etiology. So a lot of etiologies are there. You have seen the infectious one, the parasitic one, the toxic substance, the nutritional, that some deficiency of amino acids, they are causing hepatitis. Even the congestive heart failure, the cardiac problems, that is also causing the hepatitis. So these are the etiology of the hepatitis. If we see the pathogenesis, though a vast list of etiology is there, but as a whole, if we see the pathogenesis, it is almost similar. And the motto of this pathogenesis is, so that etiological factor, they cause damage of the liver cells. It may be the necrosis or the physical damage to the liver cells. And that hepatocytes necrosis or their physical damage, it ultimately leads to the inflammation. So whenever, this is a normal procedure of the body, whenever there is damage in the body, inflammation occurs to just cope up with that condition for healing also. So that physical damage or the necrosis of the hepatocytes, it leads to inflammatory changes in the liver parenchyma. And that is what is hepatitis is all about, when there is inflammation in the liver. And ultimately, that if this inflammatory changes remain for a longer time, the ultimate fate of that inflammation or hepatitis is, it will result into the fibrosis of liver parenchyma. And that is what is called as liver cirrhosis, ultimately. So this is the pathogenesis. Whatever the cause is there, whether it is parasitic, infectious, or congestive, or anything, they cause, actually these etiologies, they causes the damage of the liver cells. And that damage is of nothing but the necrosis, regenerative changes, and ultimately the inflammation takes place. And that is how hepatitis happens. So whatever the causes are there, their mechanism may be a little bit different from one another, but ultimately they cause damage to the liver cells, necrosis of the liver cells, and because of that, there will be inflammatory changes in the liver, and that's how hepatitis occurs. But if it remains for a longer time, if it is a chronic form, then ultimately it will be resultant in the fibrosis of the parenchyma. So that is all about the pathogenesis of the hepatitis. But cause-wise, I told you that the various etiology, their mechanism may be little bit different. So if we start with the infectious causes, so this virus, bacteria, fungus, what they can cause? They can cause direct damage to the cells. So like exotoxins, or some fungus are there, their toxins, or virus itself, they themselves can cause damage to the cells. You might be knowing how virus penetrate the cells and how they damage it. So that damage happens. But one of the most important, and which I want to mention here, and I have mentioned here, that if it is endotoxin. So exotoxins, they can damage the cells like that because of their toxic effects. And the mechanical damages occurring, that is also there. And when there will be damage of the hepatocytes, inflammation will be there, and ultimately that is what is hepatitis. But if it is endotoxin, there are some bacteria which are the source of endotoxins. So the endotoxins, when they are present in the hepatic parenchyma or circulation, they affect the Kupffer cells, and they make the Kupffer cells to release lysosomal enzymes, prostaglandins, and collagenase. And all these chemicals, they are harming the hepatocytes, and you can say they can damage the hepatocytes. So lysosomal enzyme, they can digest anything, they will digest the cell. So likewise, collagenase, they are the enzyme, they can digest the connective tissue of the liver parenchyma. So accordingly, all these three, the lysosomal cell, the lysosomal enzymes, the prostaglandins, and the collagenase, they are damaging the hepatocytes. And when there will be damage of hepatocytes, ultimately there will be inflammation, and that is what is hepatitis. So how endotoxin works, you should know. If we talk about parasitic hepatitis, so parasites, their larvae will be migrating, or even in fasciola, even the adult parasites, they migrate in the liver parenchyma. So migration of that larva or that adult parasite, it will cause the physical damage of the cells of the liver, and thereby the inflammation takes place. So the foreign body is present there, and they are causing damage to the cells. Ultimately, there will be inflammation, and that is how they cause hepatitis. Toxic substances, they mechanically or they with their chemical effect, they damage the cells, and there that is how it happens. Some deficiencies are there like cysteine and methionine. Because of their deficiency, hepatitis occurs, but exact mechanism is not known how their deficiency causes. But there might be the use of these amino acids in the formation of the cell wall or something. And if they are deficient, there might be the damage of that. So by that way, they might be causing the hepatitis. If we talk about the congestive hepatitis, so I do not know whether you have gone through the congestive heart failure or not, but for meanwhile, I will just tell you, in congestive heart failure, the affection of heart or the function of heart is altered in such a way that the venous return, it does not come to the heart in full of its capacity. So there will be pooling of the blood in the venous side. So veins will be engorged throughout the body, you can say. The veins will be engorged. And liver is a highly vascular organ. So veins of the liver will also be engorged. So when normally veins used to be remain collapsed, but when they are engorged, they will be full of blood. So they will be like a palpable thing. You can say their volume will be increased because inside the veins, the blood is, their pooling of blood is there. So when the veins are engorged in the liver also, so they are creating a physical pressure on the liver parenchyma. So veins of the liver are present in the liver parenchyma itself, veins or venules. So normally they used to be collapsed, but when they are filled up with the blood because of that congestive heart failure, so their size will be increased because inside that veins there is blood. So the structure which used to remain collapsed all the time, now it is remaining like a cord. So its volume is increased now because of the accumulation of blood inside the veins. So that increased volume of that veins and venules, they create a mechanical pressure on the hepatocytes around them. So whatever the hepatocytes present around that venules, they will be having a pressure from these venules. So that excessive pressure for a longer time, it causes damage to that cells. And when those cells got damaged, there will be inflammation and ultimately hepatitis occurs. So in congestive that hepatitis, the basic cause of hepatitis is the pressure created by venules on the parenchymal cells. And because of that pressure, the consistent pressure exerted by that venules, they are getting damaged. So that is how the congestive hepatitis takes place. So in all the etiologies, if you think collectively, you will be seeing that whatever the etiology is, it is causing damage to the cells, the necrosis, and ultimately there is inflammation, and that is what is hepatitis. And it remains persist for if it persists for a longer time, then it will be resultant in the fibrosis of the liver. So that is all about the pathogenesis. Am I clear till now? If you have any
Yes,
doubts,
sir.
anything confusing, you can ask me. Okay, so we will proceed further. Now the clinical findings. So as the clinical findings of liver disorder we have discussed several times. So this is also a liver disorder. So clinical findings will be almost of similar type that we have already discussed. So there will be anorexia, constipation, sometimes there will be diarrhea, there will be mucous membrane pale or yellow, jaundice will be there because the hepatitis is characterized by jaundice, abdominal pain, and that one. So you will see the abdominal pain also. If you palpate it, animal will reveal abdominal pain, or if not also in normal condition, if hepatitis is there, abdominal pain may be present. The color of feces may be changed. Nervous signs also appears. And the nervous signs are, most of the time there will be depression, but sometimes there may be excitement also. Hyperexcitability in some animals has been observed. Then ataxia, lethargy, these are the nervous symptoms of the hepatitis. So other signs, you can understand why they happen. Anorexia, since it is the part of digestive system, so it will be there. Constipation, the excretion of feces, the liver play an important role by secreting bile. So definitely that will be affected. The mucous membrane is pale or yellow. It is because of accumulation of bilirubin, excessive accumulation of bilirubin. Color of feces is generally again because of that affection of liver. But how nervous signs appear in case of liver disorders? So as per the nervous signs are concerned, definitely when the brain will be affected, then only nervous signs will be there. And how brain is getting affected? So in case of liver affection, the protein metabolism is getting disturbed. So you know that urea cycle, it takes place in the liver. So the ultimate product in animals of urea, that protein metabolism is ammonia. And that ammonia is converted to the urea in liver itself, in the hepatocytes itself. So since liver is not functioning properly, so urea cycle is also getting affected. So whatever the ammonia is being produced, it is accumulated in the circulation, and through circulation it reaches the brain. And ammonia is very toxic to the tissue. So there will be damage in the nervous system, in the brain itself, and that is how the nervous signs appears. So the cause of nervous sign in liver disorder is the accumulation of ammonia, and in the circulation, when it is accumulated, through circulation, it will reach the brain, and there they will cause damage. So in liver disorder, that is how the nervous signs appears. So if you are being asked what is the actual cause of nervous symptoms in case of liver disorder, so you can justify it, that liver is hampered, urea cycle is not being performed properly. So whatever the end product of protein metabolism, ammonia is there, it is getting accumulated in the blood, and through circulation it reaches the brain, and there they cause damage. And that is how the nervous symptoms appear. In the last, I have written the cardinal signs of hepatitis is anorexia and mental depression. So you should remember that. It is a line from blood, and it has been mentioned. So whenever there is hepatitis, anorexia will be there and mental depression will be there. But in some animals, there may be excitement also. So this is the cardinal sign. It is considered as the cardinal sign of hepatitis. So this is all about the clinical findings of hepatitis.
सर
Yes.
सर 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 ये एक्साइटमेंट में भी एक्साइटमेंट विथ है ना सर, सम केसेस, तो ये सम केसेस वो नर्वस वाला केस होगा ना सर?
नर्वस मतलब नर्वस सिम्टम ही है ये. अगर डिप्रेशन है तो वो भी नर्वस सिम्टम है. अगर अगर वो एक्साइटमेंट है तो भी नर्वस सिम्टम है. समझ रहे हो आप बात को? Everything, the normal tone of body is being regulated by our nerves, our brain. So if I am normal, that is okay. If I am depressed, that is also a nervous sign. If I am excited, that is also a nervous sign.
Yes, sir.
So that is called
Yes, sir. Yes.
menation. Menation, actually. Now, if I'm normal, this is normal menation. If I'm depressed, that is depression, and that if I am excited, that is excitement. So everything is nervous sign. Okay. So ataxia, lethargy, everything is nervous sign. So these are the clinical findings, and the nervous sign, I have told you the cause is ammonia. Because of that, in case of hepatic disorder, not in all cases, in case of hepatic disorder, the ammonia is the main cause. Now coming to the necropsy finding, if the animal dies, and if you open the body, you will getting the enlarged liver. There will be swelling of the edges. The round edges will be there. Normally, there used to be the sharp edge. But if it is there, if it is hepatitis, there will be rounding of the edges or swelling, you can say. Sometimes you can see the hemorrhage beneath the capsule of the liver. Necrotic changes will be there here and there throughout the liver. Then if it is parasitic type of, if the cause is parasitic or parasitic hepatitis is there, you can see the parasite, adult parasites. We have seen that fasciola in the liver. If you go to the slaughterhouse and you slice the liver, you may get that. So fasciola, adult fasciola used to be present in the parenchyma as well as in the bile ducts. And some larvae that we have discussed and in parasitology, you might have studied, some nematodes are there. Their larvae, they used to migrate towards the liver. They cause damage there. So their track is there. There will be formation of track, and that gets fibrosed ultimately. So they can also cause. So that type of changes may be there. You can get the adult parasite, their larval form or something like that. You might have heard about that hydatid cyst, Echinococcus granulosus, the larval form of that. You can get that one also. So these are the parasitic causes of this one, hepatitis. If it is congestive heart failure, and because of that congestive hepatitis is there, so you will be getting the fluid-filled venules in the liver. So if you slice that, there will be oozing of the blood from that vessels. So the blood vessels of the vessels, especially the venous vessels, that will remain engorged with the blood in case of congestive hepatitis. So these are the changes which we can get in postmortem. So with this, we can identify or we can diagnose the cause. As per diagnosis is concerned, as usual, we used to diagnose the liver disorder, the history and clinical signs that has been discussed there. Then if you palpate it, you will feel the enlargement. Pulsation and percussion will reveal the enlargement of liver as well as the abdominal pain. We can go for radiography to see the enlargement as well as ultrasonography. It will reveal the texture of the parenchyma, how it is, whether it is normal, hyperechoic, or what type of changes are there. We can assess that through ultrasonography and radiography. Even liver biopsy is helpful for that. You can take a sample and you can go for liver biopsy. And in this case, what type of biopsy will be good if it is hepatitis? Which biopsy you will prefer? There are two types of two methods I have discussed. No, one is closed, one is semi-open.
Yes.
So closed will work because it is a diffuse disorder. So from anywhere, if you get the sample, you will get that inflammatory changes. Then liver function test, we can assess some liver enzyme, liver specific enzymes, and by that way we can assess the condition. Now coming to the treatment, so as I have told you, there is a vast list of the etiology. So accordingly, you are to treat. So you are to eliminate the primary cause, whatever it is. If it is parasitic, if it is infectious, accordingly you are to treat. If it is parasitic, you will go for the deworming and all. If it is infectious, accordingly you will have to go for antibiotic course. Then dietary management is essential in hepatic disorders as well as in this hepatitis also. So you will have to give excessive amount of carbohydrate and calcium and low protein and fat diet. So carbohydrate rich diet should be given because its metabolism is easy and body can get energy from this. Liver will not get affected much more. High calcium is required. So for that, at your level, just I want to tell you, and you should remember that there is a byproduct of protein metabolism that is called guanidine, and it is excreted through urine. So guanidine metabolism, it takes place in the liver, and when liver is hampered, this guanidine is accumulating in the circulation, and it causes damage to the body. Various type of tetany it causes. So muscular damage and other things happen. This guanidine is excreted through urine, and to prevent that guanidine intoxication, we should provide calcium. Calcium is required to prevent the guanidine intoxication. So that is why we have written here the carbohydrate and calcium rich diet should be given. And we are saying at the same time that anorexia is the cardinal sign. Since animal is not taking anything, so you will have to provide carbohydrate and calcium parenterally, IV or IM, whatever you want to give. So that thing is there. As I have discussed, there might be some constipation. So mild laxative is there to manage that. Liver tonics and vitamin preparations, they are available in the market. You can go for that. So this is the basic line of treatment. So etiology wise, treatment can be varied. So as I have discussed with you that if it is infectious, you will have to go for that antibiotic therapy. What type of cause is there? It is fungus or something is there. So toxin binders should be given if it is fungal toxins are there. So eliminate the primary cause, then dietary management is important, and that is carbohydrate rich diet and calcium supplementation must be there. Laxative if constipation is there, and liver tonics can be given. One thing I wanted to tell you, it is skipping from my mind, no problem. So I will discuss if it comes to my mind later on. So that's all about the treatment. If anything extra, if something is there in your mind.
सर सर अभी हम लोग ग्वानिडीन के बारे में कुछ बोल रहे थे सर।
ग्वानिडीन
मैंने
कहा कि ग्वानिडीन जो है इतना उसका बड़ा कॉम्प्लेक्स मैकेनिज्म है, बट मैंने आपको ये बात दिमाग में आ सकती है कि कार्बोहाइड्रेट और कैल्शियम क्यों दें, तो कैल्शियम का क्या रोल है हेपेटाइटिस में। तो उसमें ये है कि ग्वानिडीन एक बाई प्रोडक्ट है मेटाबॉलिज्म, प्रोटीन मेटाबॉलिज्म का। तो प्रोटीन मेटाबॉलिज्म में जैसे एक अल्टीमेट रिजल्ट में हमने कहा कि अमोनिया है, वैसे ही ग्वानिडीन भी एक स्टेप पे एक इसका बाई प्रोडक्ट है। एंड ग्वानिडीन इज अ कंपाउंड, इट इज अ पार्ट ऑफ सम अमाइनो एसिड्स, सम साइड चेन और कहीं उस प्रेजेंट होता है बहुत सारी, जैसे आर्जिनिन में है इसका, ये एक उसका कंपोनेंट है। तो जब प्रोटीन मेटाबॉलिज्म जब उसका ब्रेकडाउन होता है तो ग्वानिडीन प्रोडक्ट बनता है, और वो ग्वानिडीन जो है यूरिन के थ्रू, इफ लीवर इज नॉर्मल इट विल बी मेटाबोलाइज्ड एंड it will be excreted through urine. But since our liver is affected, hepatitis is going on, so definitely that liver will be unable to detoxify that guanidine to that extent. To prevent their intoxication, calcium is required. So how calcium prevent that intoxication, that is another issue. But you should know that calcium, we are giving rich calcium or parenteral calcium for hepatitis, in case of hepatitis, just to prevent the guanidine intoxication, because it is toxic to the body. So this calcium prevents that intoxication. It might be binding with that, or it might be excreting through the calcium, whatever is there, but it is to prevent the guanidine intoxication. And guanidine is a protein metabolism byproduct.
ग्वानिडीन अगर लीवर ब्लड सर्कुलेशन में जाएगा, और आप बोले थे कि उसके बाद है ना वो पेन या कुछ ऐसे करके बोल रहे थे ना।
आवाज कट रही है तुम्हारी, फिर से बोलो।
सर आप बोले ना कि ग्वानिडीन है ना लीवर पेन, तो ग्वानिडीन है ना सर्कुलेशन में आ जाएगा, और उसके बाद है ना
ग्वानिडीन एक्चुअली क्या है कि टिटेनी कॉज करता है। वेरियस टाइप ऑफ टिटेनी हैज बीन observed in case of accumulation of guanidine. If guanidine का concentration blood circulation में ज्यादा है या प्लाज्मा सीरम में ज्यादा है, तो इसका कोरिलेशन पाया गया है टिटेनी के साथ, तो ये मसल डैमेज करता है, और भी तो वही इंटॉक्सिकेशन है उसका। जब ये ज्यादा अमाउंट में होगा तो इस तरह के कॉम्प्लिकेशंस हो सकते हैं। जस्ट टू प्रिवेंट दैट वी आर गिविंग द कैल्शियम।
थैंक यू सर।
ओके,
थैंक यू सर।
एनीथिंग एल्स?
सर आई हैव अ क्वेश्चन सर।
या
सर हाइपरप्रोटीनीमिया तो वैसे ही है सर, फिर सर